Joined today by Christina Lawrence, the head volleyball coach at Rogers High School. Christina, how are you?
Doing good, Blair. Just trying to stay healthy and try to be as active as I can on this whole lockdown and crazy situation, but doing good overall. So,
Well, good to hear. So, we're back to normal, but before we get to where we're at now, how did the pandemic affect you and your program?
well, this is really the first year we're really starting workouts in June, so it didn't really affect us much as far as June was concerned. But missing those 2 months at the end of school, we missed a lot of off-season time, a lot of position work, strength and conditioning. So, we had a really good Google Classroom workout that we would meet with daily while they were out, and then they just were kind of responsible for their own things. So our kids did a good job keeping up with that, and I'm not too concerned, but we're excited to get back.
Now that we are back, what are you able to do, and what are the challenges, and how have you overcome those challenges now that you're 3 days into practicing?
Well, we're in that getting acclimated phase that they gave us. So we have hour workouts that we're doing. We've broken everyone down into really, really small groups. So we have 4 different courts and a weight room rotating. We're trying to keep it to where only 2 girls touch the same volleyballs in the same cart. So it's kind of crazy. And then we sanitize and then we'll rotate them. So right now we're really only doing like 15-minute to 20-minute sessions and then rotating them through. But it's been really efficient. It's been good too because it's been a lot of more small group stuff. So I can really focus on some technique. And some of those drills. So it's been tough keeping them 12 feet apart inside, but we all have our masks on until their heart rates get up. They can take those masks off. But we have our masks on the whole time while we're coaching. It's tough, struggling to breathe sometimes, but it's been working really well.
Oh man, I can imagine that would be tough with the mask, especially when you're not used to it and being active. It's interesting, and that I've seen that you mentioned the coaches have to keep it on the whole time. Sometimes the coaches are just as active as the kids, and I've seen, like with softball and baseball, if they're active, they don't have to wear it, but the coach does. So that's applying to coaches on all sports then.
Yep, everyone's wearing that mask. So there are times where I have to step out of the gym because I'm just trying to breathe. I mean, I'm a little out of shape. The coronavirus has not been good for my diet or my conditioning. So,
Yeah, it's been tough on a lot of folks. So, with the emphasis on fundamentals, that's probably a good thing because you have to get, I mean, ball handling and things like that because you can't pass, correct, right now?
yeah, we can pass. It's just you want to limit the number of contacts you have between different kids. So, like, if they're 12 feet apart in the rules, it said, they're allowed to play catch or, if it relates to our sport, pass. So they're going to pass back and forth. Um, but again, we're not letting really more than 2 girls touch the same balls in the same volleyball cart. So it's been kind of difficult. But again, it's been really great because usually when we start, we're getting the season, and so we're starting in June. We're doing a lot of individual stuff, working on that technique that a lot of them really don't get in club because they're usually going gung ho, trying to get ready for tournaments and stuff. So it's been good. And then we've had some coaching changes, so just kind of getting those new coaches acclimated to the team. Those changes have been really good.
Is there a date that you're hoping for when you can actually do team things? I know we're kind of all waiting every day at 1:30 to see what the governor has to say, but is there a hope of when you can actually resume full team practices?
Yeah, so they're supposed to make an announcement on June 30th. I'm hopeful, but with the number of cases increasing so much in Arkansas, I'm not sure we're going to see change, especially with that social distancing piece. But we've made it work. If we have 2 girls 12 foot apart on the court, working with a partner that's obviously 12 foot across on the other side, and it's not great for the team aspect as far as getting ready to compete, but I don't think it'll take them long to get caught back up, and we're just hoping that they don't get bored. We're trying to keep their minds engaged and keep moving and try to do new things to keep them really focused on the court.
When is the season supposed to start, and how is this going to affect tournament play? Do you think? Are you allowed? Are you moving forward? Are you playing out of state? I mean,
We have kept all of our tournaments on our schedule. We have a lot of play dates. We're supposed to go and play a bunch of that we really do. We're kind of just waiting to hear for that announcement on June 30th to see kind of what our expectations are. I know it's weird because our state might have strict requirements, but Missouri might. So that's been hard also. So we've kept everything the same. We have a couple Missouri games early in the season, where we got to get up there and play, and I'm hoping that we're allowed to. But as far as those tournaments, I think that's still very questionable at this point. We're hoping for the best, but we also want our athletes to stay safe and everyone to stay healthy.
yeah, you mentioned opening up. Oklahoma's already opened up, no restrictions. I mean, I guess they're limiting crowds, but everybody's going full bore. Does that make it harder when a neighboring state is in that situation, and here we are in phase one, or do you even think about it?
Yeah, I mean it's frustrating, but being a biology teacher, I understand how viruses work, their life cycles, and kind of the unique situation we're in right now. And I know that some parents are frustrated; they're ready to get started, but I think just safety is kind of as my number one priority, and keeping my kids as healthy as we can. I think we're going to see it here. The virus is going to hit one of us at some point. Um, but really, there's no rush for us to really get back. I mean, we're not trying to really get ahead of anyone right now. We're all doing the same things in the state of Arkansas. But for those people that are playing softball and baseball right now, I mean, it looks like they're allowed to kind of go full speed ahead. And my girls are questioning that, like, why can't we get going? And so there's some frustration between our team a little bit there with that. But again, we just want to see our kids stay healthy, and we don't want to see any of this catastrophic death or anything hit any one of our players or parents. Because we've got a lot that have asthma, and got to be careful.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, it's not just the old folks that are hit by this. So were you able to get a lot of fishing in during the pandemic, and was it good for the kids to take a break and just kind of get away from everything and rest?
The fishing's been good. I had some really great fishing before we kind of got shut down at Roaring River. And I've been on the lake a lot. But I live in the country, so this pandemic thing has had everything shut down. For me, it's just been normal. I've just been kind of isolated out in the woods. But I don't know. When I think about myself, like, I've kind of enjoyed the downtime. I've had a break from everything. I've had some time to revitalize. And then when you think about our athletes, I've been saying this for years now, they're going too hard. They're killing their bodies at a young age with all the club and extracurricular workouts and solo lessons and being a part of multiple sports in high school. And a lot of these kids haven't seen a break like this since they were in 4th or 5th grade, which is really crazy to think about. Because I mean, I remember being a kid and I had summers. I still had some camps and stuff, but these kids are going nonstop from sport to sport to sport to lesson to club. And I'm excited to get them back because I feel like it's a really great brain break for them. They're going to miss the competition, miss the sport, and they're going to be eager to get going. So it's great for their bodies and for their mental health. We've seen a lot of mental health things kind of pop up with these kids going nonstop. And so I think this is going to be a good eye-opening experience for us whenever they come back ready to go.
I think this is a very good observation. And for people that don't realize, Christina played volleyball at the high D-Low level at Arkansas in the SEC for 4 years. So it's not like you're just saying this on a whim. I mean, you've experienced this, and you've been in these kids' shoes. You know how this is. And sometimes we forget they need downtime. I mean, their bodies are still growing.
For sure. I mean, I never played club volleyball, so I don't have a lot of the club volleyball experience. When I was in high school, it was just I was more of a basketball player. So I did a little bit of AAU, but it was nothing like what these kids see now. And I remember when I got to Arkansas, I was so new at the game. I was so excited every day. I didn't care what we were doing, conditioning. I was learning new stuff. I couldn't even pass. And they were teaching me to pass on the sideline. And I thought it was great. When I think about some of my other teammates, you could tell that they've been playing for a long time, and this was kind of routine for them. So I think we're missing that desire to compete. And since they're so used to going every week and compete, play games, when they get to us, a game is just, it's just a match. So I'm excited to see how this really affects the mental state of some of our kids, and hopefully they get that desire to want to work hard and compete and win back.
You started out. You didn't immediately get into coaching. What prompted you to get the coaching bug, and who has influenced you?
Well, I remember just, being in Arkansas with Coach Poole and doing some of our camps. I started really kind of feeling like coaching was something that was a calling for me. But, I wanted to be a veterinarian. So being pre-vet, I was like, man, it's just like the schooling was my priority, and kind of moving on and maybe getting a master's. So I just didn't really think about coaching. I was doing private lessons for a long time. I've done that well before I started coaching. And I started really getting excited when I'd see those kids improve. They'd start making their high school teams. And then I worked at Tyson for a few years as a microbiologist, and I just felt like I wasn't really making a difference in what I was doing. And so, I know how much my coaches impacted me as a child, and really helped shape me as a human being. And they were my role models. They were everything to me. So I just knew that I could provide that for someone else, and for someone else's child, or for my athletes. And so I got excited about that and started talking to Coach Smith at VHS. She kind of helped me figure out my way to get my foot in the coaching door. So
excellent. And you've always had a love of animals. I mean, it's no surprise you're in biology and you fish. And how did that all start? Because that was one of the things that was always unique when you were at the university. Most volleyball players, were not into fishing and the outdoors, but you always have been, and you've maintained that, which I think is awesome. What prompted all that?
Well, I mean, I grew up in a small town in Sullivan, Missouri, and we weren't the wealthiest of families, and so my dad had always been a hunter and a fisher his whole life. And those things are really how we ate. We didn't have food sometimes if my dad didn't really provide that as a meal. So I just always was so excited if my dad would come back from hunting and, he got a deer or something, and I would want to help him. And it's crazy. I never really got involved into the hunting thing until I got college playing time. But as far as fishing, I mean, my dad was taking me since I was 3 years old. We would go to the trout park at Merrimack Springs in St. James. And, that was really all we could afford. It was like $2 for a tag, and it was free for a kid to fish. And so I'd go up there all day and spend time with him. And my mom would take me to the river, and we lived by the river in a little community. And so we'd go down there and catfish all night. And that's just kind of what I lived for. It was just fishing and hunting and sports, and just having aspirations to be something great no matter what I did. So it was great.
What is your favorite thing? What is your favorite fish to fish for?
Man, I don't know. That's hard. Pretty much anything. I mean, I really like, if I'm on the lake here at Beaver Lake, I like to catfish a lot. I've done some crappie fishing this year. I would probably say my favorite is trout fishing. I go to the White River, Roaring River. That's been great for me. I actually went up there before the pandemic started with Mr. Belk with Outdoor Ed, and I caught like a 10-pound rainbow trout. It was huge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was kind of a highlight of my year so far. But I also love offshore fishing, like Gulf Shores. You can get on those boats, and you don't know what you're going to catch. So it's all great.
Yeah, and this is a great spot for you to be in for fishing. But no bass fishing on Beaver Lake?
I haven't got into it yet, but I don't really know what I'm doing when it comes to bass fishing. So I've just kind of just stuck with what I know. So, but I'm not opposed to it. If someone said, "Hey, you want to go bass fishing today?" I would say yeah. Okay.
We'll see if we can help you out with it. I mean, the interesting thing about Beaver Lake, that's where the first Bassmasters tournament and where that all started. So bass is kind of synonymous with beaver. To hear you talk about catfishing, which is big, but that's not usually the priority. So maybe that's smart, because there's probably more catfish to be caught than bass.
Hey, we've caught a lot out there, so I'm not going to complain. We just recently caught about a 30-pounder off the dock, so.
Holy cow.
Yeah, there's some big ones in there. We just don't really tell people where we're fishing at, because we don't want people to know.
Yeah, well, a good fisherman never tells you where he's going. How long did it take you to reel that thing in?
It was like 40 minutes. It was stop. It was about 40 minutes. I think we had like 50-pound test line, so it wasn't me that caught it. It was one of my buddies. But getting it in a dip net, it was very challenging. I almost had to go swimming for that thing.
Oh my gosh, I can imagine.
He took that thing home and it fed like 8 people. So
Wow. They're probably still eating on it.
probably.
Oh, do you have time real quick to play our quick quiz?
Yeah, sign me up.
All right, here we go. The priority, a haircut or a meal out?
Definitely a meal out.
Understandable. Do you play a musical instrument?
I play the guitar. I've been playing the guitar since I've been about 14.
Nice. In your music playlist, is it going to be more country or more rock and roll?
I'm going to go with more country for sure.
Any particular artist?
I like all of them, although I did attend a Metallica concert. It was probably my #1 concert of all time. So
Wow.
I'm a pretty mixed person when it comes to music.
Very diverse. Last movie you saw in a theater?
I think maybe A Quiet Place. I don't remember. It's been a long time.
And more time cleaning the garage or doing yard work?
Definitely the yard work. I'm trying to keep putting off the garage.
Yeah, I think we all are, and we're starting to run out of time to get it done before the summer ends. Well, Christina, thank you so much for the time. Continued success at Rogers, and hopefully June 30th will bring us good news, and you can get back to doing team drills, because I would imagine at that point everybody's going to be more than ready to do that.
Yep, I'm hoping for the best. And as always, it's good to talk to you, Blair. Good to keep in touch. We need to go fishing sometime.
We do. We need to take a camera, because I want to be there when you catch a 40-pound catfish and haul it out of beaver, and it will make you a star on social media.
Sounds good. Well, thanks, Blair. You guys have a good afternoon and stay safe.
All right. You too, Christina. Thanks so much.